Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Derbyshire Dales series. The Dales contain some of the most beautiful British scenery. It's a magnificent area. Here's one of its 109 civil parishes. Welcome back to the Derbyshire Dales again, everybody. Now I'm going to come out of the way of the camera here for this intro piece, because why look at my ugly mug when you can have a look at this instead? Would you just take that all in? That is absolutely beautiful. We're in one of the highest elevations we've been in so far here in this part of Derbyshire, and if you look around, there's beautiful scenery for miles. You're looking at the Hope Valley, and down there somewhere is the big village of Hathersage, which we've already covered. We're nowhere near a big village in this place though. This one is one of the smallest ones we have here in the Derbyshire Dales, and its name is Offerton. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Offerton, Offhere's farm. This week in the Derbyshire Dales we come to Offerton, one of the most out-of-the-way places you will find anywhere in the district. Offerton lies right at one of the Dales' most northerly tips, just below Hathersage and north of Highlow. There's only one way into the settlement, a long, twisty lane that drops rapidly into a valley through which the River Derwent flows. It's not the easiest place to access. Just getting onto the lane requires a bit of skill, because if you approach from Highlow, you're actually better off reversing towards the lane's entrance, given it's on a sharp corner. Offerton has very little recorded history. The hamlet has always been a small speck on the Derbyshire landscape though. There are just 5 houses and a few farm buildings here today, a number which has only minimally increased since the 1850s. It all used to belong to the Duke of Devonshire at that time. The standout feature here is Offerton Hall, which can boast an inner core that dates back to 1658. It sits on the hillside overlooking the glorious Hope Valley and Hathersage. Crossing the Derwent between Hathersage and Offerton is possible. You can do so by using a set of ancient stepping stones, part of a 5-mile long walk. There's no walking route here for us though, it's mainly driving, and you'll soon see why. We start with a drive into Offerton from Highlow, and let me tell you, this wasn't exactly easy. Offerton lies in a steep valley. Most of its buildings are clustered together in one section about 3/4 of the way down this hill, and at the bottom there's not much more than a farm and a few farm buildings. The rest of the parish is essentially what you can see from this road. There's only one way in and one way out. This narrow twisty lane runs north towards the Derwent, with some steep drops away to the right hand side. Even for an experienced driver like me, it was still brown trousers time. The slopes are part of the Hope Valley, something we'll need to become accustomed to in future episodes. Although the valley appears to be one single entity, it is in fact several smaller valleys which join to form it. Castleton is widely regarded as the capital of the Hope Valley. Let's stop halfway down this hill towards Offerton village and have a look at it, shall we? It's rather breathtaking. Looking over the low stone wall into the valley below, we see Offerton Hall, easily the most historic property in the parish. Offerton Hall is small, but in many ways it's the classic North Derbyshire manor house. Made of grit stone, it dates mainly from 1658. Although largely unaltered since it was built, in 1957 F.A. Saunders of Sheffield had it enlarged. And the lucky so-and-sos that live there get this view every morning, because the house is located right on the hillside. You won't find many better views of the Dales than this, folks, but Offerton isn't exactly a tourist hotspot. It's far too difficult to access. Now, as you probably gathered in the Highlow episode, at the end of that one, we saw how narrow this road is. Now, I've got to continue down this road now and into the main Offerton village itself. There's absolutely no point trying to walk around this one because it's so small. And honestly, all the houses apart from Offerton Hall are kind of grouped together on like one bend, and then the road runs off into the distance and comes to a dead end at the River Derwent, where you can pick up a footpath, but we're not going to, because the only thing that's really of note down there is a set of stepping stones which are quite a walk away from Offerton village itself. I may talk about those with the aid of some pictures though when I eventually get down there. So it's just basically a drive from this point onwards, and here we go then. Alongside this narrow stone wall, you can't see anything beyond that wall when you're driving along this road, let me tell you, so you don't know how steep the drop is. It's very steep, let me tell you, and this leads into the main Offerton village. So this is literally the rest of Offerton, and there's not a lot to it. Of course, there's no major amenities like a school or a church, but it's also far too small to warrant any minor ones either, like a phone box or a post box. Offerton does though have a number of listed buildings. There are 6 in fact, 4 houses and 2 of their outbuildings. Offerton Hall accounts for 2 of them, whilst Offerton House, on the first tight bend, is another. 2 more can be found at Nether House right at the end of this road, whilst the 6th and last is Garner House up a private track further to the northwest. Offerton only has 1 other house. This has always been a tiny settlement. Back in 1851, records show there were 4 houses as opposed to the modern 5, whilst the rest of the land was deemed agricultural or common land. The Duke of Devonshire was lord of the manor at that time. I think it's fair to say he didn't exactly have a lot to look after down here, did he? Okay, so here we are then at the end of the road. You can go no further on public roads here. This road here I'm just using to turn around because there isn't really anywhere else to do so. So let me just get my bearings here, because this is still slightly downhill. I tell you what, you definitely do need to have a modicum of driving skills out here, because, you know, anyone who hasn't been, you know, passed the test very long or anything like that, they would struggle on roads like this. They certainly require a lot of experience. The gradients, the bends, the bumps, it's all very, very difficult to deal with if you're not a local. Absolutely, one of the hardest things you'll ever do is drive on a road like this in the Derbyshire Dales. So yeah, as I said, you can pick up a footpath where I've just turned around there, and it will take you down to the River Derwent, where there's a set of stepping stones which cross the river. Now, we're not going to walk down there, as I said earlier, but I have found some pictures on the internet of those stones, and if you fancy the walk yourself, this is what you can expect. If you follow the road in which I turned around on foot, you reach the River Derwent, right in the valley bottom. You can cross the river by walking on these stepping stones. Generations of children have done so before now and totally loved it. The stones' history is a little sketchy, but it's known they were in place sometime before 1764, thanks to a map dating from that year which shows them. They are likely, though, much older. In the summer, it's not uncommon for ramblers, walking the various trails from Hathersage, to cross these stones and walk up through Offerton to Highlow before heading towards the Plough Inn near Leadmill Bridge. It's about a 5-mile walk in total. I imagine it's worthwhile for the scenery, but it must be hard work climbing that hill. All that was left to do was climb the hill again, back to Highlow. This was first gear all the way up, and I wasn't joking when I said that this is not for the inexperienced. Offerton is a beautiful part of the Dales with some great scenery, but I think it's probably much better enjoyed on foot rather than by car. You wouldn't want to meet any other traffic on this lane, that's for sure. Next week we'll be heading to another tiny Dales settlement close to here. Join me there for another adventure. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.